Hello and welcome once again to this Red Gaming Tech video. Myself, Amata, as always, I'm here with the latest news from the tech world in the last 24 or so hours. Paul's supposed to be recording today, but he's got some photography to do for upcoming review, as well as some upcoming stuff for Zen 3. So you've got me today, my friends. So we're going to begin things with loot boxes. Now they have, of course, disappeared from the limelight a little bit. They were in the limelight a lot last year, sort of mid last year, as a lot of countries came out and outright banned them. The US politician, of course, spoke out against them, and officially, legally speaking, the UK came out and said at the time that they didn't view them as gambling. But obviously, the topic of discussion has been coming up more and more. And now there has been an interesting report from the NHS Mental Health Director Claire Murdoch, and you can find it linked on their website in the description below this video. So basically, the health director has said that video game companies are, quote, setting kids up for addiction by building gambling into their games. And she said, quote, frankly, no company should be setting kids up for addiction by teaching them to gamble on the content of these loot boxes. No firm should sell to children loot box games with this element of chance, so yes, sales should end. Young people's health is at stake, and although the NHS is stepping up with these new innovative services available to families through our long-term plan, we cannot do this alone, so other parts of society must do what they can to limit risks and safeguard children's well-being. And she went on to call companies to ban sales of games with loot boxes that encourage children to gamble, introduce fair and realistic spending limits to prevent people from spending thousands in games, make clear to users what percentage chance they have of obtaining the items wanted before they purchase loot boxes, support parents by increasing their awareness on the risk of in-game spending. Now, I don't agree with all those points, but one thing I've said many times now is I feel like a percentage chance of whatever it is you're looking for, or a chance of getting, say you're playing Overwatch, which is a game that first pops into my head when I think of loot boxes, because it's a game that I put an obscene amount of time into. Say, for example, you wanted the new Mercy skin, just for example, and it's an ultimate, whatever. So gives you a percentage chance of like, hey, percentage for ultimate, So a percentage chance for getting a skin or whatever would really be helpful, so at least you can make an informed decision. So it's going to be interesting to see if there is any response at all from video game companies regarding this. But to finish up this topic, there's also a statement from Dr. Henrietta Bowden-Jones, who is a psychiatrist and founder of the CNWL's National Problem Gambling Clinic. She said, quote, as the director of the National Centre for Gaming Disorders, the first NHS clinic to treat gaming addiction, I am fully in favour of taking a public health approach and bringing in a regulatory body to oversee the gaming industry products currently causing great concern to parents and professionals. Loot boxes are only one of several features that will need to be investigated and indeed researched. We need an evidence-based approach to ensure young people and gamers in general do not continue to be subjected to new and increasingly harmful products without our intervention. So, I just don't know. My main concern is that they're going to go overboard on this. Like, I think, yes, some oversight is needed on loot boxes and microtransactions, because people have and will probably continue to spend thousands in games, either without realising it if they're a young child, or if they have a general gambling addiction. That has happened. There's countless stories about it, but I don't want them to go overboard and really clamp down on things and just restrict them too much. You know, I feel like a little bit of oversight, yes. Complete and utter tyrannical control, maybe not, but we'll have to see what ends up happening in this regard. You can find the full report from the NHS in the link description, as already said. I have very much picked out the best parts that are pertinent to this particular topic, but you can read the whole thing if you so desire. So we're going to move over now to something very interesting from Nvidia. So obviously, Turing was definitely a bit of a mixed bag in terms of reception for Nvidia. Obviously, the supercards were better, but they still had issues. And obviously, the original launch of Turing was, it was good, but at the same time, not enough improvement over the last generation, and obviously the price was a big point of contention. And obviously, this hasn't stopped Turing from selling really well. But we are, of course, looking forward to Ampere now and seeing what they can bring to the table, especially, of course, there's a lot of rumblings as to what AMD are up to. So there is a very interesting report from the analysts Piper, Sandler and Gartner, and it's been posted on barons.com. So, according to these analysts, their checks show that Nvidia's next-gen GPUs, which are rumoured, and again, rumoured to launch in March of this year, will make the gaming segment something to shout about once more, as they're expecting the gaming segment to jump more than 12% following the launch of Ampere. And just for a bit of a reminder, these are not the only analysts to say that 2020 is going to be a much rosier year for Nvidia, as an analyst from Citibank also said that recovery in the semiconductor market is expected with a strong pickup of demand. So according to Gartner, once again, that growth of 12.5% is something you can expect from GeForce in particular and their entire gaming segment, but it has, of course, the potentiality to be even higher than that. Now, Turing wasn't a flop by any means, but it definitely didn't do as well as it could have for a lot of valid reasons. And I feel like if Nvidia were able to find that magic again that we saw with Pascal, the insane domination we saw from them, we could see some pretty nice growth. But of course, AMD are on the horizon. They're working on something. They undoubtedly have heard rumblings what Nvidia are doing, and they're hopefully going to be more competitive with the top end than they have been with the top end of Turing this generation. As of course we have seen hide nor hair of Big Navi, although of course Lisa Su did confirm in an interview yesterday, go check out Paul's video if you haven't watched it, that we will be seeing Big Navi in 2020. But of course we will have to wait and see. Of course the current rumours are that we're going to be seeing Ampere launch around March, but they might be holding fire to see what AMD are up to with Big Navi first. But it's definitely curious to see what exactly is going to be happening for Nvidia. So we're going to move over now to a little something from AMD regarding Zen 3. So this is all thanks to a tweet from Komachi, whose name you should know very well by this point, which shows Zen 3. Basically what we can see here is that Zen 3 IDs and code is entering Linux kernel. So this is basically further evidence that they're making great progress with Zen 3, and Lisa Su also did mention Zen 3 in the interview that I was just talking about, where she talked about Big Navi, where she said that Zen 3 is doing very well. Now according to our sources, we are hearing late Q3 or early Q4. We are trying to get our hands on a more accurate date, but for now that is what we're hearing, so basically later on this year. But essentially what the code is saying is that it's now being tested and is doing well. We will likely see some leaks from engineering samples for benchmarks quite soon. Oh, and just a quick aside, as I may have said at the start of the video, genuinely I'm not sure, Paul is working on analysis for Zen 3, so if you do want your latest fill of the latest updated Zen 3 information, he is working on something which I think you'll find very interesting. So we're going to move over now to a little bit of console news, the first of which is some comments regarding the Nintendo Switch and its future. So obviously, as we know, we are finally going to be seeing the Xbox Series X and PS5 release this year. Now obviously we are hearing reports of a Switch Pro, but that's obviously not going to compete with the monstrous specs that we've heard for the Xbox Series X and of course the PlayStation 5. So we have some interesting comments from a Switch developer who basically says that they believe the console will not be left behind. This is thanks to the Engine Software VP of Development, Ruud van de Moesdik, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, saying that, quote, "In my opinion, the Nintendo Switch, like the Wii before, exists in its own dimension of the market and will continue to do well even when the PS5 and Xbox Series X are released. As so many before, Nintendo's consoles have just their own uniqueness that doesn't depend on having the fastest processor or the largest memory. That's why I have to smile when I hear someone say that Nintendo is done." And to be honest, I completely agree. Being the least powerful has not stopped them before. The Wii was the least powerful and it went on an absolute tear, and the Switch has been the least powerful in comparison to PS4 and Xbox One and Xbox One X, and it's still basically printing money for Nintendo. They are completely different markets, and I think a lot of people will have a PS5 and a Switch, or an Xbox One X, Series X, sorry, should I say, and a Switch, or a PC and a Switch, or whatever. Personally, I have a Switch, even though I have console and PC, so they're completely different markets. I completely agree with the statement. I don't think Nintendo is in any trouble at all, because they're not trying to be the creme de la creme of specs. But speaking of PS5, we have yet more reports surrounding the reveal of the console. Now, I myself discussed quite recently that reports are basically saying that we're going to be seeing the PS5 reveal very soon, and the rumours and leaks, etc. are saying February. And now we have some comments from David Jaffe, whose name I hopefully have pronounced correctly, a former developer who's best known for his work on God of War, has stated that the much rumoured PlayStation meeting, which will be revealing the PS5, is, quote, less than 4 weeks away. And he said on Twitter, I want to say it's the worst kept secret in games right now, February, like they did for PS4. And this is in line with everything that we've heard, and it does make perfect sense, especially if Sony is not going to be at E3 this year. They want to make a splash. I have no doubt they will be doing something around the time of E3. They've already confirmed they're not going to be at the conference itself, but I would not be surprised if we see something to generate a bit of hype, because obviously Microsoft are going to be at E3, and I think Sony are going to want them to steal all the hype for themselves. So it's going to be interesting to find out how true this is. It's not going to be a long wait at all. As I said, about 4 weeks away if these reports are accurate, and I would say the chances of that are pretty good. But you're welcome to speculate and leave your opinions on this and everything else I've discussed in the comments below. So that is me done for this video. Hope you all have had a lovely weekend. Of course, still got a while to go, but we're all in preparation for Monday mode at the moment. I know I am. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, your support is highly appreciated. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.